So I wanted to get on here and yap because y'all know. Hold on. You know I love this one. I am back with my collector's edition, right? So I recommended this book to so many people, and you know that saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover." When someone recommends, especially a book like this, because this is like labeled under psychology, right? All about love. People will think like, oh my gosh, love. And when people think like, oh my gosh, love, and they decide not to read the book, that's kind of the purpose of why she wrote the book, right? So in the introduction, she says, let me underline the part. Movies, music, magazines, and books are the place where we turn to hear our yearnings for love expressed. Yet the talk is not the life-affirming discourse of the 60s and 70s, which urge us to believe all you need is love. Nowadays, the most popular messages are those that declare the meaninglessness of love, its irrelevance. Let's skip down. She says, expressing this concern in When All You've Ever Wanted Is Enough, Harold Kushner writes, young people are cynical about love. Ultimately, cynicism is a great mask of the disappointed and betrayed heart. Yet, young listeners remain reluctant to embrace the idea of love as a transformative force. To them, love is for the naive, the weak, the hopelessly romantic. The attitude is mirrored in the grown-ups they turn to for explanations. As spokesperson for a disillusioned generation, Elizabeth Wurtzel asserts in Bitch in praise of difficult women, none of us are getting better at loving. We are getting more scared of it. We were not given good skills to begin with, and the choices we make have tended only to reinforce our sense that it is hopeless and useless. Her words echo all that I hear an older generation say about love. So she goes on and she talks more, but she essentially says that like nowadays, which is very true for where we are as a society, like most of what people talk about as far as love is the absence of it, right? And a big part about this book is looking at love not just in the romantic sense, but like there's redeeming love. There is love that you have for your neighbors. There's a love that you have for children. There's love that you have for the people around you that make you feel love. So there are so many dimensions of love that often go overlooked because a lot of people just think of mainly the romantic sense of love. And even within the romantic sense of love, it's tough. It's tough because most people like operate from a place of lovelessness. Like they've never experienced love, and like Bell Hooks talks about this is, death row inmates who, did not always have the best relationships with their parents, and how that lack of love or that lovelessness led them down a life of crime. And even in some of their darkest moments, all they want is love, right? Not like a woman, but they just want that unconditional love, that redeeming love that only certain people can have for you, right? And I think a lot of people for sure know that, like, your family, that's like a redeeming love, because a lot of times you can steal from your family, you can fall out with them, you can argue. I'm not saying you should do these things, but people quite literally like it out with their family. Like people go through the most with family, but at the end of the day, that love that's there is so strong that families are like, no matter what happens, we'll roll with it. We will go with it. It'll be okay. It's I added some hair into my crochet, so I'm still trying to get used to it. So I keep touching my hair, but there are just so many aspects of love. And part of what Bell Hooks talks about in her book is that women are often the practitioners of love. And a lot of times it does fall on women. And love is not always going to look how we think it should look, right? There are so many different ways to love. And it really depends on, A, the kind of relationship that you do want to nurture, B, where you would like that person to be, and then also like C, but also let's make CA is like you yourself, like self-love, self-expression, using your voice, speaking up for things that you care about, standing firm in your beliefs, okay? These things aren't often seen as love, but it is an aspect of love. And a lot of times we get frustrated at people who do love themselves because you don't love yourself. When someone is standing here and they love themselves wholeheartedly, they see themselves as a full, whole person, they're not going to be looking around, judging, critiquing other people. They only see the beauty in other people, right? So when someone is love and they give love, it's because they are love and they know what love is. But love isn't always going to look the same, because the love that is going to nurture someone into being who they are isn't the kind of love that's going to have nurtured someone else into being who they became, right? Love has to be personalized, right? I know, there's that saying, people say, oh, well, consideration, is the highest, people considering you, people seeing you, right? And so for some people, let's say there are two people in a marriage, right? And one person doesn't like to do a certain task, right? So it's let's do a simple one, like car washing, right? Let's say you're married and you have a wife, and you know that let's say about when she's done with them kids at the end of the week, her car be looking a little crazy. And she usually goes to go get her car washes on Sunday, or she'll go Saturday, right? She'll go Saturday in the morning so she can have a clean car for church, right? But you are her husband, and she don't really like to clean this car. And honestly, I gave her these kids. They part of my responsibility, and she be carting them around for me. So let me go ahead and take something off her plate. So what do? As a man who wants to consider your wife, right? You take her car in Friday night, you take her car to go get washed, right? Saturday she comes out, so she can go do other things, right? You've given her time back. You just took something off of her plate, right? And you allowed her to be seen, because she knows, I don't like to do this. She don't like to do this. So you show up like that, right? Also, let's just say you're dating someone who has never had a mother or a father. Let's say you're dating someone who grew up in foster care. I kid you not, the simplest things could quite literally allow that person to know a new way of love, right? So let's just for me, the biggest one for me is cards, right? So I have the last card my grandma ever wrote to me. When I went to sleepaway camp, I kept all the letters that my family wrote me. I have my birthday cards, all of my close, good girlfriends, when they wrote me cards for my birthday and they wrote messages in them, or they wrote me just any kind of card, I keep it. And I keep it because it's a reminder of where I've been, but it's also a reminder of where love can take you, because these people sat down, put pen to paper to write out something from their heart and to tell me how much they love me. And because of how much they love me, they're telling me to love myself more in ways that sometimes you're not able to see it. And I kid you not, I still go back to those cards and reread them sometimes, and I cry. I cry because it makes me see how far I've come, but also it makes me realize just how much further I can go. So again, baddies read bell hooks. And I really, 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 this is a collector's edition, right? The other copy is red, and the writing is black. And you can definitely get it on thrift books. I say all this to say, love is a transformative force, and it is multidimensional, because love goes into so many small things, and we kind of forget that so much because we're focused and driving ourselves. A lot of times, as a society, not me, but as a society, it's really pushing this narrative of lovelessness, right? And if there's one thing that I can implore you to do, it is to start showing love. Like when they say the revolution won't be televised, they don't mean that, oh, the camera's not gonna be there. The revolution won't be televised means that the micro changes that you make in your life, the little ways that you show love, the little ways that you show up, the little ways that you pour into the community that matters to you, those are the radical acts of change that are going to topple down, like like a dominoes, like a domino effect. Like it's gonna topple down. Trickle down economics is not for real, but when it comes to love, it does trickle down. It trickles down because let's just say you got $20, right? And so you got to get rid of this $20. You need to give it to somebody in need, right? So then you see the crackhead. So then the crackhead, they need a meal. So you give them money to go get a meal. And then they say, thank you so much to these people who probably have given them meals for free or helped them out in need. And now this person who you just gave this money to, or like you give them a meal, like you give someone a ride. Like there are just so many little things that you can do to show up for people or to show them that you're considering them. Or even when it comes to children, like if you have a friend or someone that has children, being a sounding board for that child, because sometimes children do need other people, and this is something Bell Hooks talks about in the book. Children need other people that are not their parents to be a voice for them. And a lot of times families will often try and shame children for expressing that they don't agree with what their parents do, and it creates this subservience, and it shouldn't be continued. Children should be able to talk freely about things that their parents do that they don't like, right? And it is important to have solid adults around your children so that these children feel comfortable expressing these sentiments and these feelings, so that your solid friend, your solid sister, cousin, auntie, brother, uncle, whoever they are, can talk to them from a place of understanding, but also talk to you. Because a lot of times children, young adults, whoever, they need someone who is not so in it sometimes to be able to communicate with someone who's in it, So being cognizant of how you show up and advocate for other people and how you allow them to advocate for themselves, that's another way of love. For me, I loved any type of volunteering or any type of just giving back, essentially, especially like if it can impact more than just my community, like my close-knit community, like global ventures, especially not missionary work, but things, nonprofit organizations that are working to undo climate change, or environmental organizations that are looking to kind of undo some of the damage of globalization and outsourcing. I think that there's a lot of ignorance and people don't really understand just how deep things go, and just how the tiny things that we do and the tiny places where we place our money, or the organizations that you invest in, paying attention to those organizations, not going with the most popular ones, but going with ones that are smaller, that are doing micro work within these tiny communities, because that's what's going to build and build and build. So funding and pouring into those things, pouring into your community, and then also sharing that's another way of love. That's how you can show love to your community, within your community. My favorite example is there's two nonprofits actually that I can name. One of them is actually in Haiti. I don't know if they're still around, but in like the 2010 after the earthquake with Haiti, the best idea for NGO aid that people thought was to go ahead and give them things, right? So I took it upon myself to write a paper for college, and I said, no, after devastation, people don't need you to just give them stuff, right, all the time. People need you to teach them how to rebuild, because their land is not the same. It's not going, a natural disaster comes in to shake things up, which means that when you rebuild infrastructure, when you get back into agriculture, things are going to be different to accommodate for the changes. And Anursa is...
Your beach show, Mom.
Mm-hmm. Can I finish talking? Can you go watch Paw Patrol, please?
No.
Thank you. Anursa, that one's in Haiti. So what they did was they actually were like using solar power energy lights to light up Haiti and rebuild the infrastructure after the hurricane. Now, finding organizations like that, that's what I'm saying. That's a way to show love. The revolution won't be televised. It's a micro thing that you're doing that's going to have a positive impact. Why? Because organizations like this are always going to be in connection with other organizations on a similar mission. And the more awareness, the more visibility that you bring to organizations like this, more of them are going to come and more of them are going to continue to rebuild, right? Okay, let's take it a step further. There was another one, my good friend Daquan Bruce. When he did our trip to Senegal, he took us to meet the people that created this nonprofit. And what they were doing, I bet you didn't know this, is that other countries can buy trash from the United States, right? We essentially will pay people to take our trash, right? So you're like, oh my gosh, where's all our trash going? Other countries. Not funny, but that's the truth, right? So in Senegal, they, like, when we were there, they were quite literally like, it was just like trash. And then that's when you learn things like other countries quite literally will get paid to take our trash. So then you have people in these communities who just wake up to trash just dumped outside in their neighborhood, right? So what does this organization, what does this nonprofit do? They decide to repurpose the trash to create greenery, to plant plants, to bring life back to their community. There was like a tree and a tire. They planted a tree and a tire, and there were so many of them. Like, they were just repurposing things and finding new uses so that waste essentially wouldn't be waste and it can rebuild the community. Okay, so I really implore everyone, pick this book up, get offline, go touch some grass, and go travel, especially to places that are not as popular, not as common. And so I know as people start planning their trips for the winter, and a lot of people love to go to Ghana in December, I really want to urge some people to consider new places like Dakar, Senegal. They are a primarily French-speaking country. However, the food, the music, the history, the culture, just like all over. Not just in Dakar, but just like throughout Senegal. You know, when you go to these places, do extended trips and stay in more than one place, and don't always stay in American hotels. Don't always stay in chain hotels. Experience the beauty of those off the grid hotels, of those the way the Wi-Fi may or may not work. There's not a bunch of lights here, but it's beautiful. And a lot of the, I would say, native hotels or resorts, a lot of times they will work with the land. So unlike American hotel chains or some of the other global brands, when they come in and they will blow up the land or make the land fit their vision, a lot of these local hotels and resorts and places to stay will work with what is already there and build on that to honor the land, honor their culture, and honor their history. So I know that there was a lot of different stuff that I talked about, but I get something new every time I read all about love, because as I go through my day-to-day, I notice the love, and then I also notice the places where there is a lack of love, and that is how love is represented. So I implore you to dig a little deeper, to find new ways to love, to give love, receive love, understand love, because it's so broad. Like, and the first time that you ever experienced love was never romantic. It wasn't. It was in care. It should have been in care. And so the sooner we can get back to that definition of love rooted in nurturing and caring, the sooner we'll be back to loving from a place of understanding love and not love's absence. So I look forward to talking with you, and let me know what other books you are getting from thrift books, or what other books you're reading, or your favorite Bell Hooks book, because she even writes kids books. So if you haven't picked up one yet, what are you doing? All baddies read Bell Hooks.